Swim so free.
The Capitol Hill to
Soccer bopper.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Tune In Next Week. This is episode number 5, a very special episode. And this is John.
And this is Brian.
What's up, dude?
I'm hanging out, chilling. You?
Hey man, it's another beautiful day in paradise.
Word.
And this is actually a special episode.
A special edition.
Very special edition of Tune In Next Week because we are covering a very special time of the year. It is our Christmas special.
Christmas, holiday, Kwanzaa.
Hanukkah.
Yes, Hannukah. Especially Hannukah.
Especially Hanukkah.
Considering this episode.
That's right. So, before we get into anything, just want to wish everybody a wonderful holiday season here. And this is our little gift to you, those that are been listening to us so far and subscribing to us. We appreciate it. So we wanted to throw in an extra episode this week for this occasion here. And this is actually an episode, if you couldn't tell from the opening little jingle, this is an episode of Frasier.
You get a bonus episode this week. This is our gift to you.
That's right. So like not only are we saying tune in next week, it's like you get to tune in twice.
Twice in the week.
So I don't know where's
2 times. Two times.
2 times. It's either our gift to you or you get to suffer through 2 more.
Nah, it's our gift. It's our gift.
It is, yeah.
And there's some people may be suffering, but our gift is your suffering.
Nothing like a little Schadenfreude to start things off with, right? So this is Tune In Next Week, episode number 6, and we are doing we're going to be doing a Christmas episode of Frasier called Merry Christmas, Mrs. Moskowitz, which is season 6, episode 10. Original air date of December 17th, 1998. Directed by Kelsey Grammer himself, and what a fine job in directing he did, I must say.
It was a very funny episode.
Written by Jay Cogan, and we have 2 very, very interesting guest stars, Amy Brenneman and Carol Shelley. Now, Carol Shelley is a British actress who is actually most known for her early work in One Life to Live and All My Children, some soap opera work and so forth. And Amy Brenneman from NYPD Blue, and actually from Judging Amy, that was on 99 to 2005.
Really? I never watched that.
Me neither, but it was on IMDb and it had a really long amount of years, so I'm assuming it was important.
Oh, I've heard of it. Oh, I've definitely heard of it.
What would this podcast be without IMDb? Seriously.
Yeah.
But so this episode of Frasier you can stream on Netflix, Hulu, iTunes, or if you want to go old school, you can buy the DVDs on Amazon. So do you want to give us the plot synopsis?
Yes. This episode has Frasier pretending to be Jewish when he is set up with a woman whose Jewish mother visits. He has to keep up the charade, and it is made more difficult to keep up by the fact of his holiday decor and Niles' performance in a Christmas pageant that's put on by Daphne.
Exactly, and we're going to dive more into that here in just a moment.
The humor in this is a lot like a tennis match.
Yeah.
Back and forth forever. It's just very fast paced.
Oh, very much so. And when we're watching these to do this podcast, usually if we're watching one of the hour-long shows, we just kind of let it run and we're taking notes or I'm typing on my computer in the background. This thing, we're stopping it every 3 or 4 seconds because so much is happening so fast.
It was very funny too. This is a show that I've watched more than a couple dozen episodes, but I've never seen every single episode. I started to try to watch this start to finish, but it's a long series and I got
11
sidetracked.
seasons.
Yeah. This particular episode never saw before, and it was hilarious.
Oh, absolutely
hilarious. Even rewinding and rewatching some of the gags, the jokes, it's so funny. Laughed out loud.
So definitely check this out. You guys are going to really get a good kick out of it. And with that being said, let's jump right into it.
Yeah, let's dig in.
So Roz and Frasier are doing holiday shopping, and for those who don't know, Frasier has a son with his ex-wife Lilith, and they are raising their son. They're divorced, but they're raising their son Frederick as Jewish.
I didn't know that. So they're raising him as Jewish.
Right, and that's the whole reason why Frasier has the menorah.
Right,
and that's what
right.
starts this whole episode, essentially.
Okay.
Because right in the very beginning, Roz and Frasier are holiday shopping, and Frasier has in a gift bag, he has this lovely silver menorah, and he starts by saying that he's buying Frederick a menorah for Hannukah, just as a nice gesture, and that detail is kind of underplayed, but it becomes pretty much the catalyst for how this all starts.
I love that. I love that small detail, almost a throwaway line. That's
Right.
It's the crutch of the whole episode.
Exactly.
Quick question, backstory. Was that a plot point, or was that something that was brought up, the fact that they are raising him Jewish?
That was mentioned in another episode. Yes.
Okay.
I don't remember when or where, but it is Frederick is sort of an ongoing character in the series. He doesn't make many appearances. I think he makes 5 or 6 appearances, and he's even played by a few different actors. But unlike Maris, for example, Niles' wife, you never see her. She's always referred to in the third person, but you never actually see her. Most likely because they can't find an actress that matches all the ridiculous physical descriptors they use for her. Which Maris is we could do a whole show on Maris.
I'm pretty familiar with Maris.
Yeah, but yeah, Frederick is so they're raising Frederick Jewish, and being that I guess Frasier is Catholic, or he's not Jewish, so they're it's a mixed faith relationship. So Frasier's buying Frederick a menorah, and he's got this menorah in this gift bag, and there's an older woman in the background who sort of notices Frasier and Roz kind of walking around. We meet this woman in a little bit, and there's some just really funny tennis match back and forth between Roz and Frasier here, and Frasier walks up to a table full of sweaters, and he needs to buy Roz a gift, and he hasn't bought anything for her, so he's looking at these sweaters and everything, and he obviously is completely winging it, doesn't even know Roz's size, and Roz is also in the middle of trying to shop for somebody else, and she runs off to try and buy nose hair trimmers because she wants to buy them for a security guard at the station they both work at. Now, let me ask you this. If somebody bought you nose hair trimmers as a Christmas gift, like, would you be offended by that? Like, or would, I mean, obviously you could take it as a, hey, someone bought me nose hair trimmers, but I mean, what an obscurely specific gift.
Well, me, I have a beard mustache trimmer that also has a nose hair trimmer attachment. So which is fine, and to be honest, I could use a new beard mustache trimmer.
For anyone listening, by the way.
Yeah, if you're listening, take note. I could use a new beard mustache trimmer. That aside, if someone got me specifically a nose hair trimmer, I would think it would be odd, but I would not be offended. I would use it, albeit maybe once a month or if that even. Typically, if I'm in a hurry and I don't use the nose hair trimmer, I'll just take a pair of scissors to the ones that are creeping out. Sure,
but I feel like that's something I'd want to buy myself.
I would want to buy that myself also. I would feel weird if someone gave that to me, unless it was a beard mustache trimmer that had an attachment.
Exactly. Because I feel like if I bought you a nose hair trimmer, it'd be like, dude, you have really long nose hair. You need to cut those things down.
I've met people that I thought about buying them nose hair trimmers because it's just out of control.
So Roz wants to buy nose hair trimmers for the security guard at work. Why? We don't know. But anyway, she runs off to do that, and Frasier takes this opportunity to talk to the salesperson there and saying, "Hey, do you have this? Do you have this sweater?" and so forth. And of course, he doesn't know her size or anything like that, so he's completely winging it, and we find out shortly thereafter that he's on the cusp of buying a terrible gift.
Right. And Roz comes back. He surreptitiously tries to buy it. The salesperson is like, "All right, yeah. Let me see if I have a better size for you." Goes off. Roz comes back just as the salesperson comes back and says, "Hey, I got your sweater for you."
And of course, and Frasier's like, has this mortified look on his face. And right then we meet the older woman that was standing in the background, which we find out her name is Helen Moskowitz. She instantly appoints herself as Frasier's wing woman.
Baller. She comes in out of nowhere,
right,
and just saves his bacon. Oh, actually, salesperson, he's talking to me. So, let me get this sweater. I'm trying to get this for my niece. Yeah, you're a woman. This looks about your size. What do you think about this? Roz is all like, oh, it's a little big for me. Maybe a size smaller. How about the color? The color is really not me either. I like blue. And Helen is all like, all right, thank you so much. And
she gets the salesperson to, hey, can you give me a smaller one in blue and wrap it for me?
Yes.
I mean, like, completely, like, almost like she read Frasier's mind, knowing exactly what he needed, and I mean, just swooping in to save the day. Mm-hmm. She saves the day. So of course, Frasier is completely in her debt, and of course, the nose hair line is the nose hair trimming area is now not as crazy. So Frasier sends Roz back over to get her nose hair trimmers, and now this gives Frasier a chance to talk to Helen Moskowitz.
She recognizes him from the radio. He introduces himself, and she recognizes him from his radio show, and then she asks him for a favor, and I think you're a very nice young man, and I'd like to set you up with my daughter. After meeting Faye, it looks to me that Frasier is more Helen's age than Faye's age.
I agree with that, and we'll talk more about Faye in just a few minutes.
Yeah,
because we're still talking about Helen in the department store, and there's a little bit of hesitation there, and Helen's like, well, there is something you could do for me, and she's like, oh no, I don't want to be in imposition, and Frasier pretty much walks right into being blindly set up with her daughter.
Oh yeah,
and then right as the scene ends, you see Helen saying, oh, it's not the first time I've done this. So Helen's game is setting up her daughter, and I don't know if that's a cultural thing in that type of situation, but it just seems like this has happened a lot, and Faye even corroborates that in the next scene. Right. So now we're at Cafe Nervosa, and Frasier and Niles are there, and we're about to meet Faye for the first time, and Frasier setting up his safety call, or his rescue call.
Yes.
Which I gotta ask you, have you ever done that?
I personally haven't done that, but I have absolutely considered it, and it is currently not dating because I'm in a relationship. But if I were to be dating again, that is absolutely a tactic that I would consider.
Yep, I have done it. I have requested escape calls for dates. I have also been the caller to call other friends of mine that have requested me to call them as an escape call.
Let me put this out to you right now.
Yep.
If you ever need that service, I'm available for you.
Awesome. So those that are paying attention, not only does he need a nose hair trimmer, he's also available for escape calls.
I perform many services. These are just a few.
Okay, so now we meet Faye, and Faye is a beautiful woman. She's played by Amy Brenneman. Comes in, and Frasier's taken aback with her, and she walks in and basically immediately picks Frasier out after having never met him before. But she picks him out because he has that look of someone who's met her mother. Really,
I didn't pick up that. I didn't pick up that dialogue.
That was a line she said, and I think Frasier said, like, "How did you know it was me?" And her response was, "You have that look of someone that's met my mother." Which I don't know what that look was, but
harried.
Exactly. But,
frenzied.
But they're getting to know each other, and they're chatting with each other. We see Niles is sitting over in the corner with Daphne. Now, for those not familiar with the show, Daphne being a home healthcare worker under the employ of Frasier's father, is a major love interest of Niles, and Niles is trying to figure out some way to be with her, which that happens later in the season. But Daphne's talking about how cute it is for the Frasier to be on a blind date, and talking about how men get all fidgety and don't know what to say, and the whole time everything she's saying Niles is doing right next to her, and she is completely 100% oblivious to this.
Oh, I don't think she is, because she's saying it, Niles is mirroring it, and then at the end she snaps at him, "Stop fidgeting."
I'm wondering though, I posit that to you, Was she oblivious to all of the signs, or only the fidgeting at the very end? Because she mentioned the fidgeting at the very end.
Well, here's the thing, and I asked this to you during the watch. I've seen a lot of these episodes.
Right.
However, all the episodes I've seen, it's all been Niles and Daphne, will they, won't they kind of deal. They never connected, never got together.
Right.
And you just said they get together this season.
Yes.
It was never made apparent that she realized. Niles wears his heart on his sleeve in regards to Daphne.
Right. Right.
Was she oblivious to it? Was she just was he not an option because of Maris?
All great questions. It was to be honest, this is an area of the Frasier universe that I need to do a little bit of review on, because there's an episode later on in season 6 called Back Talk, and that's really where the story arc of Niles and Daphne finally getting together and finally professing their feelings for each other, that's where that all starts. Mm-hmm. And it's not. I'm not going to get too crazy into that, but that's where it all begins. Before then, there's a few times where it's hinted, but you never really see Daphne questioning it, or you never really see Daphne bringing it up or realizing it until it's kind of like shoved in her face.
Right.
She's pretty oblivious to it for the most part.
Oblivious, though?
She seems like she is. I mean, because there's an episode in season 2 or 3 called Moondance where Daphne's giving Niles ballroom dancing lessons, and then Niles' date for this big ball cancels, and he winds up taking Daphne to the ball, and they are in the heat of a tango. Daphne is saying, well, just, be an actor, act the part, because a tango is a very emotional dance and everything. And Niles is blurting things out like, you're a goddess, I adore you, blah, blah, blah. And Daphne took that as acting, and Daphne thought that Niles was acting and saying, oh, well, you're a heck of an actor, saying, oh, you're a goddess, I adore you, blah, blah, blah. At this point, and for most of the series, it just never occurred to her that Niles felt the way that he does, until it was shoved in her face when, in that Backtalk episode where it, I'm not going to say how, but it's made pretty apparent that she needs to consider this because this is actually happening.
Yeah. For me, I understand how it could be perceived that she's oblivious, but based off of the character and what I know, my perception is she's aware of it, but she chooses not to acknowledge it.
And that is true for a part of it.
Yeah.
But not. I'm talking more in general.
Of course.
It sounds what you're referring to would be true over a few episodes, because there's times where she's actually going out with and dating someone named Donnie, dating someone named Joe, and even if she is made aware of this, she's choosing not to pursue this for various reasons and so forth. So that is true for some of it, but I'm talking more in general over seasons.
I understand.
It's not a major part of her character.
Right.
It's more of a part of Niles' character than it is hers. That being said, coming back here, so during a little exchange while Niles and Daphne are observing Frasier's blind date, Daphne sort of recruits Niles to be the musical director for her upcoming holiday pageant and her holiday show, which the idea just sounds terrible.
Well, a music director, to me, that doesn't sound too bad.
No, the idea for the show. The idea
for
what the show is.
Yeah. The show is awful.
Yeah,
no.
I mean, hiring Niles to be the music director, that's fine. I mean, because Niles is a musician, he plays the piano, he sings and everything. So, he's a musician, he can do that. But the type of show they want to put on is completely ludicrous.
Terrible.
From a holiday show point of view. They're mixing, religious music with non-religious music with silly holiday and silly Christmas music.
They're mixing Jesus Christ Superstar with traditional holiday stories, the manger and the like. They're in essence doing the story of Jesus, but taking from different genres of music. There's rock and roll, there's folk, there's the Broadway musical Jesus Christ Superstar, and they're just it's a awful mashup of all of those things.
Yeah, I mean, they're talking later on. You hear them talking about working Jacob Marley into the manger scene. You know, like you're taking what show? What's the name of the book that Jacob Marley's from?
The Christmas Carol.
Yeah, that's right. So adding Charles Dickens' The Christmas Carol into the manger scene where Jesus is born.
I'd get drunk and watch this production. I don't want to watch it really on purpose, though.
I think that might be the only way it would make sense.
Yeah.
They are hitting it off, and Niles agrees, because anything Daphne does, Niles will do. You know, whether Daphne realizes it or not, she's got Niles wrapped around her finger.
Frasier and Faye connect on Faye's restaurant that she works at.
Right.
So I believe she's a chef.
She's a pastry chef.
She's a pastry chef there.
Lawyer turned pastry chef.
Yes, and Frasier goes to her restaurant. They have a great back and forth about the food that he ordered that she made. She makes a great joke about, "Did you find my earring? I lost my earring in that meal you had." And he has this, that's a joke. Lighten up, Frasier. So Frasier lightens up, but it's a really funny back and forth.
Oh yeah, which there's so many of that, so much of that in the episode. But so now
the escape calls happen.
Oh yes, that's right. So during this whole blind date, those escape calls that we talked about happen. Frasier gets his first, and then and of course, I love how astute Faye is, and that. I think that's just sort of like part of her city persona. She picks up on everything, you know, nothing gets by her. She's not naive in the least. And, you know, she's, "Oh, that was an escape call," you know, and Frasier says, well, you know, how do you know? The second he says that, she gets her escape call.
Now, cell phones before 2002 always intrigued me. I had a couple of cell phones in high school, but even still on TV, seeing them is just... is funny to me because they're all big and bulky. Frasier looked like he had a house phone as his cell phone.
He had like a Motorola, like a big gray flip Motorola phone.
Wasn't it a flip phone?
It was, but I mean, obviously nothing is going to compare to the Zach Morris phone.
No, nothing will ever compare to that.
Saved by the Bell Zach Morris phone.
Yeah.
But no, his was an early... I don't know the model number, but you know, flipping the front down and taking the call. Now think about, you know, all the stuff you carry with you on a daily basis. You know, like I carry my wallet, my iPhone. I got a set of earbuds and pocket knife and whatnot. But that feels like enough to carry for me, you know. But imagine being in that time frame, carrying around a huge cell phone like what the ones that Frasier had, and where would you carry that? You couldn't carry it in your pocket. You'd have to carry it in a bag.
Yeah, or he'd probably have it in his jacket.
Right, but even then, I mean, wearing a suit jacket, a big brick in there is still going to weigh down. You know, like any way you slice it, you're still carrying this, you know, 5-pound brick that with an antenna on it. You know, so it really, when comparing to that type of thing, it really is amazing where we've come with technology.
That's so funny.
So that being said, now we're over in Frasier's apartment, and this is really, I think this is kind of where the episode starts to really kick off into high gear.
Oh yeah. Frasier is on the phone with Faye. She's going to stop by with her mom very soon. Niles is decorating for Christmas. He puts up a wreath, and Frasier's dad comes out with his own wreath. That very, very cool looking wreath. I would hang that up in my home.
Oh yeah, with the Rudolph wreath. The Rudolph wreath.
Yes. Rudolph is coming out as it's a wreath, and Rudolph is halfway out of it, like he's coming through. So if you hang it up on the wall, it looks like Rudolph is breaking through the wall and coming out through the wreath.
Right. And you see a lot of that. You know, Martin is more like the everyman. You know, Frasier's dad is more like the everyman kind of relaxed, you know, chill kind of guy. Frasier's more the stuffy, conservative, you know, very subdued kind of guy. So, in previous Christmas episodes of Frasier, you see Martin going absolutely nuts, decorating the apartment, and Frasier didn't want to do that this year, and that was a major source of argument between them, which we get to in just a little bit. But Martin really wants to hang up this Rudolph wreath. And Frasier just does not want to have it at all, and he's saying, no, I don't want that hanging up at all in my apartment. And Martin just, he's like, okay, fine, forget you, whatever.
It's a very funny back and forth. They talk about Rudolph not being a legit reindeer.
Right.
Songs written about the reindeers. It's so good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So by that time, Faye arrives, and Faye makes the startling discovery: oh, what is that on your wall?
You're not Jewish?
You have a wreath. And I love how she asks, why do you have a wreath?
Because
it's good.
It's Christmas and I celebrate Christmas.
Yeah.
Is that a problem?
Oh, you're not Jewish. And Frasier's like, no. And she says, oh, well, and Frasier, is that a problem? She says, no, it's not a problem for me, but it's a problem for my mother. And Frasier says, oh, well, I can take the wreath down. And she pretty much just says, yeah, go with it. And she's totally behind Frasier pretending to be Jewish for her mother.
Now, I would be on board with that as well to a certain extent. I would be on board with that in the sense of I would not mention my religion. I would not mention any of that stuff. If it comes up in conversation, well, this is who I am. This is how it is.
Right.
I'm with Frasier up to a point.
Sure.
Mom comes over, sits down, and one of the first questions she asks is, "How was your bar mitzvah?"
Well, even before that, as soon as Helen walks in the door, she says, "Oh, what a lovely apartment," and then she is, I think she's got her back turned, and Eddie, the dog, runs out a little doggy Santa outfit.
Oh, yes.
And Frasier screams, "Get out!"
Well, what?
And Helen's like, "What?" And then Frasier's, "Of that coat." Just brilliant delivery. Brilliant save. Because because right now, Faye's in on it. Helen is completely being played right here, and every little hint of their religion just backfires.
Just imagining me walking into someone's house and then they just yell "Get out" out of nowhere, and then
of that coat.
Like what?
So he takes her coat, and they sit down, and they start talking about things, and Helen says, "Oh, Seattle's such a beautiful city," and she says, "Oh, you must have been bar mitzvahed here," and Frasier answers the question honestly. Well, he answers it politely. Yes, it was a lovely day, and I remember reading from the Torah in front of the cantor and my parents and the moil. And
the moil.
Yeah, I had to look up how to spell this and everything, and it's the person who did his circumcision.
This is where we diverge. I would not have gone even halfway into this. This is where I would have said, "Hey, listen, not Jewish. Not Jewish."
Or at least I would have just said, "Yes, it was a beautiful ceremony."
Frasier,
if he wanted to continue with it,
if you wanted to go, yes. If you wanted to continue with it up to that point, but even still, you're going to be in a relationship presumably with this woman,
right?
So
just be honest from the get-go.
You gotta be honest, Frasier.
Exactly. I mean, like, if just look, we know that he wants to make a good impression for her mother. We get that. So he wants to do the right thing and get his mother's approval. But you
pulling out random Jewish words.
Yeah, but you're making a great point though. If he goes into a relationship and then he wants to get married, the wedding is going to be a complete farce, unless they come clean, and then it's like, okay, well, why did you lie to me about your bar mitzvah and blah blah blah. So, yeah, he should have just come clean at that point, but he still he invites the person who, you know, in this story, he says, oh yeah, you know, I invited the moil to come to my bar mitzvah to show that I had no hard feelings. Take that as you want, as you wish.
Oh man, that must have been an awkward bar mitzvah.
Yeah, that's for sure. And then so then Niles shows up, and Niles walks by, and he says, "Oh, what happened to the?" He's going to say, "What happened to the wreath?"
Frasier saves it.
Right. Frasier says, right before he says wreath, he says, "Oh, the Moskowitz family that lived down the road, they moved out."
Yeah.
You know, and he brings Niles into the kitchen and explains what's happening, and he says, Faye's mom thinks we're Jewish. Play along.
Niles is so sharp and just goes with it effortlessly. Just makes some Jewish references to the ham in the oven and makes some other Jewish jokes.
Oh yeah, he's like, oh, you should go tell Dad. You mean Papa? Like, just little. I mean, the casting on this show is perfect.
This was known as the smartest show on TV.
Completely.
During its run.
So then Martin comes in, and Niles is explaining how to be Jewish to Martin.
This is also very well done.
Yeah. Completely stereotypical, because I don't know any Jewish person that acts the way that Niles is telling Martin to act. But he basically just says to Martin, answer every question with a question. I have a number of Jewish friends. They don't all answer questions with questions, but I don't know if that's because I don't know if that's a thing they do.
Because because they're real people that don't behave that way.
Exactly. So, and Helen says to Martin, she says, "Oh, you got two sons that are doctors. How'd you manage that?" And Martin goes, "I don't know.
Do I?
And this is pretty much when everything just starts to fall apart.
Yeah, Daphne comes in next. She takes Niles away, who one of the actors in the production fell out, and now Niles has to pick up their acting part.
Right.
We don't know what part it is yet.
Right.
We'll find out. We don't know what part it is yet, but he's gotta go downstairs and get ready for the pageant.
Right.
And
now all this time, Faye is trying to get her and her mom out of there to go to the airport to get on the plane, and Helen has gotten off the phone with the airlines because she said, "Oh, the plane has been delayed an hour, so we got a little more time to spend with you here." But Faye is basically saying, "Well, no, I just got off the phone with the airline. The plane's back on schedule." Which I want to get to that in a minute. But basically, while this whole exchange is happening, the doorbell rings, and it's a Christmas tree delivery person from the store from the beginning. From the very beginning of the episode, it's a guy delivering a fully decorated Christmas tree, which looked like a piece of crap to begin with.
Yeah, that tree did not look good.
No, something I would have expected a lot better from Frasier with the amount of money that he has and how over the top he goes with things. I was expecting a much better looking tree, but basically, this Christmas tree shows up, and Frasier basically says, "Well, let me give you a tour of the apartment." So
to Helen and Faye.
Correct. So he brings them. So now let's try to follow along with us here, because this is basically this ridiculous turn of events over the next 10 minutes of the episode is just absolutely gut-bustingly funny. What happens first? Frasier gets the doorbell rings. Frasier goes over to the door, opens it, realizes it's the Christmas tree that he ordered in the very beginning of the episode. He slams the door in the guy's face and then just says to the Moskowitz, "Hey, I've got to show you this apartment. This is a beautiful apartment. You're going to love it.
Before you go, let me show you my bedroom."
Right. Which I can't remember the last time I said to someone before they left, "Hey, come look at my bedroom."
Weird. Quick. Yeah.
Yeah. So Martin goes to the door and opens the door to let the Christmas tree person in, the Christmas tree delivery man in, while Frasier and the Moskowitzes are in Frasier's bedroom. Now, Martin then needs to get rid of this guy as quick as possible, so he moves the Christmas tree and the delivery man into the bathroom right next to the front door.
Yes.
As soon as he closes the door, Niles walks in, dressed up like Jesus Christ. And he runs into the kitchen.
Sniffling and sneezing.
Right, because he's having an allergic reaction to the set of this pageant. So now, Niles, dressed as Jesus Christ, is in the kitchen. Frasier and the Moskowitz clan come back out of the bedroom, and really funny exchange between Helen and Faye. Helen is saying, "Oh, I noticed, Faye, when we were in there that you were kind of quiet, like you've been in there before."
And Faye is like, "Yeah, I was in there. I was drunk, but I don't remember."
It was dark and I was drunk, so I don't remember.
I was hooking up with Frasier.
She was racking up her frequent Frasier miles. I did not make up that line.
That was a joke from earlier in the episode.
Yes. Racking up the frequent Frasier miles. So funny. So now, Niles starts to come back out of the kitchen, and Frasier screams,
"Jesus!"
Which...
I mean, it took me out. It shut me down. I had to reboot. We had to pause the episode for a minute while I composed myself, because I was out for a solid minute laughing.
Oh yeah. And so then Niles runs back into the other room, and Frasier says, "Hey, Martin, show them the balcony."
Yes.
And the whole time Helen is trying to get a taste of whatever Frasier was cooking. Frasier's cooking a pig.
Yes, a ham.
Which is not cool.
It's a cloven-hoofed beast.
Right.
It's unclean, so it's not something that Jews can...
Now, just a moment ago, you used the word Jew. Now, I want to pause for a moment. I was raised Roman Catholic, so I am not a member of the Jewish faith.
I am also not a member of any religious affiliation.
Okay, so I wanted to make sure, because we're dealing with an episode of Frasier involving people of different faiths, I wanted to make sure that we did this the right way. I don't want to say anything or position anything or use any words that are derogatory or anything like that. So I consulted with an authority on Gentile Jewish relations, which is basically a code for saying I called my buddy Matt, who is a really, really great guy, and he is a good, hearty Jewish man, and he and I've had many great conversations, and he's told me a lot about the difference between like Catholicism and Judaism and things like that, and just a really all around great guy. And I said to him, what is the proper way to refer to someone in the third person that is of the Jewish faith? And he says, well, you could say that Helen Moskowitz is a woman of traditional Jewish faith. So someone who lived their life based on the practices and teachings of the Jewish faith on a traditional level. If anyone wants to comment on this, feel free to reach out to us on Twitter at tunein_nextweek or tunein-nextweek.tumblr.com to comment further on Gentile Jewish relations. And I want to say special thanks to Matt for helping us out with that information there. So getting back to our episode here. So things are just starting to fall apart all over the place. Niles runs back into the kitchen.
They all go out to the balcony first.
Right.
Frasier meets Niles in the kitchen and says, "Hey, what are you doing here? I've got hay fever from the hay.
Right.
I need my nasal spray." "Well, where's your nasal spray?" "I don't know. It might be in the bathroom." He says, "I'll distract them. You get out of here." So Frasier is expecting him to be gone.
Right.
Frasier also, I want to point out, doesn't realize that Martin or Dad put the Christmas tree in the bathroom. He just thinks that he told the Christmas tree delivery guy to come back in an hour,
right,
like he said.
Right.
That didn't happen.
Right.
So Frasier goes out to the balcony. Niles tiptoes out to the front door, but then says, "Oh, let me check the bathroom for my nasal spray." And then goes in to go for his nasal spray.
Right. And then he closes the door behind him. So now Niles is in the bathroom looking for his nasal spray, shooting his nasal spray in his nose.
With the Christmas tree.
With the Christmas tree. And then Frasier and the Moskowitz clan come back in, and Helen is saying, well, you know what? I think we do have to head over to the airport. It's that time.
We're safe. Everything's good. Frasier's like, oh, we're safe. Everything's good.
Frasier's like, you know what? I've made it. The shenanigans have passed. Everything is good to go. He's got that look of relief on his face, and they're all walking towards the door. And then Helen says, well, you know what? I need to use the powder room. I need to use the restroom. Frasier opens the door to the bathroom to reveal Niles dressed as Jesus with the nasal spray going up his nose is standing in front of the Christmas tree. Like, how much worse could this have backfired?
I could name a couple things, but considering the situation that we're in right now, this is probably as bad as it can get. Right.
And so then Frasier slams the door, and then Helen says, okay, what's going on here? Frasier opens the door again, and Faye just comes clean, and she says, you know what? Frasier's not Jewish.
No.
And Helen's like, what? And then Niles says, well, I'll just let you guys work this out because he's got to go. And Helen's like, oh, I understand this is your busy time. But so Niles leaves, and this is, in my mind, one of the funniest parts of the episode because Helen and Frey get into it. They have a flat out argument in front of Frasier and Martin, and Frasier's like, well, let's give you two some space. Helen's like, no, nobody leaves.
No, we're doing this right here,
right now, on stage in front of you guys. We're gonna duke it out, and they pretty much have an argument that goes all the way from Faye saying, I want to date Frasier and you're so involved in my life, gets escalated all the way up to I hate you sometimes, then comes back to them being all crying and weeping and hugging each other saying I love you and I want you in my life. This entire exchange takes place over 1 minute and 20 seconds. That is the most efficient fight I've ever seen in the history of any human interaction.
They each said their piece. They were shocked at the other's opinion. They accepted it, hugged it out, made up, and everything was right with the world.
Hey, we're done. I would love every fight to be like that.
All arguments could be that way. It would be a better world.
And you know what's interesting is they could be. They really could be. Because if you think about it, what did they do that was so groundbreaking? They just spoke their mind.
Yeah, but this particular argument is easily resolved. Hey, you're smothering me. You're too involved in my life. You're always making decisions for me. I want to date who I want to date without having you be involved. You're right. Maybe I am too smothering. I still want to be involved in your life, but I'll try to be more mindful of your wishes.
Right.
Let's find a happy medium. So this is something that could have been, granted, it was very well done by the actresses.
Totally. Totally. But I mean, I think so many of these conflicts that come up in our own day-to-day lives can be resolved in a similar fashion. Just a matter of, say what's on your mind and be open to hearing and, trying to find a happy medium with the other person. This efficiency in communication is kind of a nice model for how to have a really good relationship with somebody. And when I say relationship, I mean that whether it's friendship, dating relationship, marriage, whatever. Because I'm a firm believer in good communication.
I am also a believer in good communication. However, I disagree. There are some issues, some conflicts, and that are more complex than this one.
Of course.
And are not as easily resolved.
Sure. Yeah, and I mean, I'm just saying in general, it's having that kind of open communication can foster a good relationship.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But that being the case, 1 minute 20 seconds, that's incredibly efficient, and and then the two of them leave. Everything is great. Everyone's all smiles, and I made a note of this that it's so many of these other episodes where something horrible goes on, or usually like the woman leaves and slams the door and Frasier is in a horrible place, but everyone left all smiles. It was like, okay, well, that was great. Have a great,
everyone wins.
Yeah, everybody wins. Helen said, hey, have a nice holiday. Just it was like, how much better could this have gone? You know, and so they leave, and now Martin and Frasier are just kind of standing there afterwards, saying, "Wow, that was pretty intense, you know, pretty crazy." And then they, you know, Frasier takes the tree out of the bathroom, puts it in position, and again, it's just such a crappy looking tree.
No, it's a terrible looking tree. He picks it up one-handed. It's pre-decorated. There's ribbons and balls on it already.
Yeah.
And he's didn't see a topper, but he just picks it up one-handed and just walks it over to. Listen, I like real trees. I prefer fake trees. They're much easier to manage, in my opinion. But this tree,
there's something to decorating the tree yourself too.
There
like
is
in the spirit and stuff.
He just got this guy delivered this tree, and it was just this. It
was on a plastic stand. The tree probably cost him $20.
It looked like a $20 tree.
Yeah.
I'd give him maybe $50.
Honestly, I would say it was $20 without the lights and $50 with.
There were no lights on it.
There were no lights.
No lights on it.
He cheaped out on this tree.
At this department store he was at whatever department store it was, looked like it was pretty high-end place.
Yeah, I mean, it was a nice department store. Frasier lives on the 19th floor of a, you know, in a really beautiful apartment. He drives a BMW. I mean, clearly he's a man of class. He's a man of finer things, and he's a wine connoisseur and all this. But he buys a piece of shit Christmas tree.
I don't know what he was thinking there.
I don't get that. But anyway, so he and Martin are talking about that fight that they had, and Martin kind of seizes this opportunity. He just kind of lets it out there, and he goes, "I want to hang Rudolph this year."
The girls have this awesome argument and communication style. We're doing the same thing. Rudolph, I gotta have him.
And then this big argument ensues between Martin and Frasier, and basically Martin saying, you know, you don't let me have anything of mine in here, and Frasier is saying, well, nothing of that you want coincides with me as a person. You're not sensitive to my needs, and blah blah blah.
Pretty much a repeat of the earlier argument.
Exact repeat. And then it escalates all the way up to Frasier saying, "I hate having you here."
The crying and the hugging then happen after that. It's
right. So, I mean, it was literally an exact clone, except men instead of women.
Yeah.
And their argument clocked in at 1 minute 54 seconds.
And it took longer only because they were prolonging the hug portion. They were putting that off, and Martin was like, "I want the hug. Come on, give me the hug."
Exactly. And we timed it from. Just so to make sure this is fair, we timed both of the arguments from when the first person said, you know, broke the news that was going to spark the argument, and we ended it at the hug.
So, yeah, the arguments themselves were probably about a minute or so. It took Martin and Frasier longer to get from the emotion to the hug.
I think they were arguing a little bit longer.
They may, yeah.
I think they were going at it a little bit longer.
They were both close to a minute, though.
Right.
And
then that pretty much ends the episode.
Yeah, that's the episode. They hug it out, and
in the credits you see that Frasier worked with his father, and they hung Rudolph right above the fireplace.
They compromised. There were poinsettias everywhere.
Yep.
Frasier lit the tree. Still looked crappy.
Not even lights made it look better.
No, they had cookies and milk out.
Which Eddie helped himself to.
Eddie was a big fan of those cookies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was that's the episode there, and definitely a really great episode to watch. A lot of fun, and just one that still kind of makes you feel good about the holidays.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode in particular. I've seen, like I mentioned at the top of the podcast here, I've seen a lot of episodes of Frasier, just not in any kind of real order.
Right.
I've seen a couple of the other Christmas episodes. This one I had never seen.
Okay.
This one was my favorite. It was really, really good.
Nice. So let's do a quick high point, low point. So what would you say would be your high point of the episode?
I think my high point was when Niles was hiding in the kitchen. not hiding. He was in the kitchen, oblivious to what was going on in the living room. He comes out. Frasier looks over and just exclaims, "Jesus!" And Niles just jumps out of his skin and just kind of slowly backs into the kitchen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say that my high point of this is actually it's so hard to pick just one because the entire episode is just chock full of brilliance.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say that my high point of this episode is Niles' performance. Niles as a character.
Niles as a character, start to finish.
Yeah, because he has the little quick one-liners when he's trying to pretend to be Jewish, and
he's so good.
David Hyde Pierce is a genius. But when they're pouring the wine and Frasier says, "Oh, I don't have any Jewish wine," and Niles just takes sugar and puts it in the wine. Frasier takes a sip and Niles goes, "How is that?" Frasier goes, "It's awful." Niles goes, "Perfect."
He gives it to her. I don't recall, what was her reaction. Did she drink it?
That wasn't played up, so I don't think that was a major part of it.
Oh man, maybe we should rewatch this and see if she sips it.
Yeah, I think it would be worth looking at.
Yeah, just to see her reaction.
So high point for me, definitely Niles in the entire episode.
Yeah, that's really good. Niles is so good.
How about a low point?
My low point was the conversation of between Helen Faye and Frasier when she first, after the title card, Oi to the World.
Right.
So they come in, they sit down, and then the whole.
Bar mitzvah thing.
You were bar mitzvahed here, and he just goes off and just starts saying random things. That's just like, Frasier, come on now, just
I agree with you.
Downplay it.
I'm gonna share that same low point with you because I feel like that was a golden opportunity for him to come clean.
Yeah,
and that was a golden opportunity to say, look, I really like Faye, I really like your daughter, but I have to be honest with you, I am not Jewish. I was not bar mitzvahed. He's a psychiatrist. He's a
socialite, a man of class,
right?
A man of come on,
right. I agree with you.
I was kind of cringing there especially when he did the moil line.
Yeah,
and then Helen called him on it. It's like, you had your guy from your bris come in, your bris come in. How do you pronounce that?
Bris,
whatever. Your circumcision.
Yeah, the tip nipping.
The tip. Yeah.
You had the tip nipper come in and I mean he played it off even though he was continuing on the lie, but
it was funny.
Yeah, it
was very funny. It's just I kind of cringed for him at that point.
I agree.
That was my low point.
Yeah. Well, that's that. On that note, we're gonna wrap it up here, but we just wanted to do this as a little special thank you to you guys, and we just wanted to. I'm sure I speak for both of us when I just want to make sure everybody has a wonderful, happy, and very safe holiday season this year.
From us to you, happy holidays,
and
as always, tune in next week.
Hey baby, I hear the blues are calling, tossed salads and scrambled eggs. Oh my. And maybe I seem a bit confused. Well, maybe, but I got you pegged. But I don't know what to do with those tossed salads and scrambled eggs. They're calling again. Happy holidays, everybody!